Wednesday, April 24th, everyone. We have a lot of weather to talk about in today's weather forecast. My name is Hunter with Weather on the Go, and in today's weather forecast, we're looking at frost and freeze conditions through your Thursday morning time frame, especially across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. We're also looking at a multi-day severe weather outbreak from Thursday, April the 25th through Sunday, April the 28th, and we're also going to preview early May in today's weather forecast as well. So a lot to go with here this morning. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and liking the video down below. It helps out more than you know. So let's look here at your temperature anomalies this morning across portions of the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. Look at below normal temperature anomalies, and this takes us through Thursday morning as well. So more frost and freeze conditions will be likely. Looking here at this morning's low temperatures, sub-freezing up here, especially into Wisconsin, into northern lower Michigan, into the UP of Michigan here, and even parts of eastern Minnesota near the Twin Cities region. So we waking up to frost, even some freeze conditions across those areas. Looking at Thursday morning as we go into tomorrow morning, more of the same across portions of the Great Lakes, the northern Ohio Valley, closer to the lakes there, and then into the Northeast, especially interior New England. Those are the areas most vulnerable to those hard freeze conditions or those widespread frost conditions going into your Thursday morning time frame. Let's look at the precipitation over the next 24 hours or so. Going through today, we have the remnants of our cold front that did move through the Midwest, the Great Lakes region yesterday on Tuesday, now over here across the eastern seaboard, bringing us some precipitation, more widespread precip across Maine into Vermont, New Hampshire. Some of that is actually in the form of snow. Most of the snow, though, is across southeastern Canada, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple flakes and flurries up here across Vermont and New Hampshire today. Then as we go into tonight, we're quieting down. 95% of us across the United States will be dry as we go into tonight, so definitely a very quiet night, and that is calm before the storm because we have a new system we're watching. We're going to turn our attention back to the west into the Four Corners region, down here into Arizona, New Mexico. Here's our trough starting to develop here on Thursday, and that is going to eject across the Plain States as we go into Friday, April the 26th. This is our first of two troughs that will be moving in. And this will be fairly significant. So going into Thursday, this is tomorrow, folks, Thursday, April 25th, an enhanced risk upgrade from our friends over at the Storm Prediction Center for portions of southwestern Kansas, western Oklahoma, and into the eastern Texas Panhandle, where we have a slight risk extending from northeast Colorado and southern Nebraska all the way down here into west central Texas on your Thursday. Let's go over the risks here. The biggest risks to the smallest risks as we go into Thursday. So we're looking here at some very large hail, especially where you see these dashed lines. That's what they call hatched marks. That's where we could see hailstones over 2 inches in diameter, essentially hen egg size or larger. We're also looking at some tornadoes and potentially a couple intense tornadoes across portions of southwestern Kansas, western Oklahoma, into the eastern Texas Panhandle here. So that's the area of concern going into Thursday. And we have a wind threat as well, more of a lower end threat for wind. 60, 70 mile per hour winds will be possible, especially in this yellow shaded color across Kansas, Oklahoma, and down into western Texas during the day on Thursday. Let's look at the overall setup for severe weather. Dry line setup, very sharp dry line here across the western plains. Dew points behind that, very dry in New Mexico. We already know the drought is ongoing there, very significant drought. You can see those single digit dew points back into New Mexico, back into western Texas Panhandle, back into the western Oklahoma Panhandle, and even up into southwest Kansas. Those single digit dew points are there, but look at ahead of the dry line. Dew points from the western Gulf of Mexico into the low, if not mid 60s for Thursday. Instability will be climbing with that up to around 3,000 joules per kilogram at its max for Thursday. And what's concerning me is the low-level jet in the 850 millibar layer starting to crawl in across the north and across the north here around 50-55 knots. So we're going to have that low-level jet from the south to north move across portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, and this could spell out potentially a significant day for tornadoes. So let's look here at what we call a significant tornado parameter. It puts all of the parameters together, your instability, your moisture, and wind shear, and you come up with a parameter composite here, and you can see those values are up to a max of 17.5 here, folks, across Kansas, western Oklahoma, and the eastern Texas Panhandle. That's why the Storm Prediction Center has that 10% hatched risk for intense tornadoes across those areas. So let's look here at the timing. Thursday morning, having a cluster of elevated non-severe thunderstorms most likely across eastern Kansas, western portions of Missouri. If we do see a severe storm, this would mainly produce some larger hail around quarter size, really not that big of a deal. That cluster will be moving through the Ozarks region in Missouri through the afternoon. But notice back to the west here near the dry line, we're still very dry Thursday afternoon as we go into Thursday night. Now, the storms won't be widespread, but if you see a supercell develop, it will become an intense supercell in this environment. This particular model, the HRRR here at 06Z, is already showing that developing across the Vernon, Texas region, maybe Wichita Falls down here. Definitely keeping a very close eye on that, but notice the coverage, though, of storms, I can't stress this enough, is going to be low. So not every single person in this environment tomorrow will see a storm or see a tornado, but the potential is there if a storm does pop off across the dry line going into Thursday evening and Thursday night. This will be an overnight threat on Thursday. Going into Friday now, that same trough starts to eject through the plains. More widespread day of severe weather. We have a slight risk up here into the Hawkeye state of Iowa, eastern Nebraska, western Illinois, down here into eastern Kansas, Missouri, including the Ozarks, down into eastern central portions of Oklahoma, much of central and western Arkansas, into north central Texas, northeast Texas here, from essentially Des Moines and Omaha down through Kansas City, down through portions there of Tulsa, Little Rock, and Dallas-Fort Worth as we go into Friday. Significant severe weather in these hatched lines from Omaha to Des Moines, all the way down through Kansas City here, into the Fort Smith, Arkansas region here, into Fayetteville, down there into portions of Tulsa, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area as we go into Friday. This could include very large hail, strong tornadoes, and potentially some very strong damaging winds through the day. Here's the setup on Friday. We have the dry line starting to push a little bit further to the north and east, and ahead of that, dew points well into the 60s, all the way up there into southern Iowa. Instability will not be lacking on Friday either. 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram of instability there, especially with southward extent toward the Red River Valley down there on Friday. Very ferocious low-level jets screaming in from the south here. We're going to be seeing some very strong turning of the winds with height and speed, of which the winds will change in height as well. Very strong speed shear in the environment on Friday, and you can see that low-level jet up to around 60, 70 knots there. Very, very significant. Looking at the significant tornado parameter on Friday, those values are very strong all along this corridor from the Midwest down here into the southern plains and the Arklatex. So we really need to watch this as we go into Friday for strong tornado potential. Friday morning, ongoing storms may be ongoing here with some hail, some heavy rain from the Ozarks down there into the southern plains, from Dallas essentially over there towards Springfield and Jefferson City, Missouri. We're going to be watching those potentially. They could remain severe into your Friday morning, mainly for hail. It's Friday afternoon. Look at those supercells popping up all along the dry line and ahead of the dry line here. And notice, a lot of these are discrete storms, and that means tornadoes will be possible. Strong tornadoes at that as well. Then as we go into Friday night, those storms will start to weaken as they push toward the western Ohio Valley into the Illinois Valley over here toward Chicago as they outrun the better instability after dark going into Friday night. Then that's not it, folks. A second trough moves in as we go into Saturday. This one looks to be a little bit more potent as it moves into the Four Corners region in New Mexico, West Texas on Saturday. That will eject across the plains again as we go into Sunday in a very similar fashion. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather, maybe just a little bit further east than Thursday's enhanced risk. But it is there for portions of southeastern Kansas, central Oklahoma into the Oklahoma City, Norman, and Lawton, Fort Sill region, down here into far northern Texas in the Red River Valley. Slight risk extending all the way up here into the UP of Michigan and Wisconsin. down through Iowa, northwest Illinois, getting through Missouri, and all the way down here into central Texas. So a large reach of severe weather as we go into Saturday. Looking at the reservoir of moisture, look at that very warm dew points here into the 60s, all the way up there to the UP of Michigan. Very big warm sector, very big reservoir of instability there on Saturday. And what's concerning me more about Saturday's trough versus Thursday's trough is actually the mid-level jet here is a lot stronger on the base of this trough, and it's a negatively tilted trough as we go into Saturday. So that means our low-level jet is going to be cranking once again over 60 knots. So I think all modes of severe weather, even strong tornadoes on Saturday, will be an issue, especially across that enhanced risk zone from southeastern Kansas into central Oklahoma and northern Texas there. And then look at that, lighting up with lines of storms, supercells embedded as we even go after dark into Saturday night from the Midwest down here into the southern plains. A very dangerous weekend ahead. And even as we go into Sunday, a slight risk all the way up here toward Madison, Wisconsin, near La Crosse, Wisconsin, through portions there of Rockford, Illinois, all the way down through portions, say, of Joplin and Springfield, Missouri, St. Louis, into Little Rock here, Shreveport, Texarkana, getting in towards the portions there of the Paris, Texas region and Dallas-Fort Worth as we go into Sunday. Another large area of severe weather. This is a slight risk for Sunday. Large warm sector, dew points in the 60s again, all the way from the Midwest into the Arklatex region. Very nice looking instability reservoir. Maybe not as strong as Saturday, but still some instability question marks there on Sunday. It definitely depends. What happens on Saturday will depend on the instability available for storms as we go into Sunday here, as it has more of that domino effect. But we have the upper level support, mid-level jet really starting to crank in across the Midwest up there near the track of the surface low. Low-level jet backs off a little bit, but we're still seeing 45 to perhaps up to 50 knots of a low-level jet on Sunday, so still enough to rotate some of those storms. As we go into Sunday, Midwest, I'm very concerned here, especially for Iowa and Missouri, and perhaps even Wisconsin and northern Illinois, for potentially a little bit more of an increased tornado threat there as we go into Sunday, as we're closer to the surface low track. I think further south, this is mainly going to be more of a large hail and wind threat as we go further to the south across portions there of Texas per se, into Oklahoma, into Arkansas. I think that is going to be a bigger deal. And then going into Sunday night, I think this is mainly going to be more of a southern plains and Arklatex event, as the instability is a little bit stronger down here going into Sunday night. Looking at the rainfall totals, folks, we are actually going to be seeing healthy rain for a large majority of us. So if you don't see severe weather, you're likely going to see some very heavy rain here all up and down the Mississippi Valley here, from the mouth of the Mississippi River through the mid-Mississippi Valley into the upper Mississippi Valley here. As we go into Wednesday, some areas could be said and done over 6 inches worth of rain between now and Wednesday, May 1st. So definitely a lot of rain for us. A lot of drought ongoing too across the upper Midwest. So we're going to start to improve and erase some of this drought with all these rain totals over 2, 3, 4, 6 inches as we go into this time frame. Definitely watching that. Moving into early May, let's preview this real quick here. It honestly looks like the same setup. We have a ridge across the east, a trough across the west here. This is going to give us warmer temperatures along and east of the Rockies, cooler temperatures out west, especially up here toward like Seattle, Portland, down towards Sacramento. Below normal temperature anomalies for May 1st through the 8th, the first week there into May. But look at this, folks, from the upper Midwest down through the plain states again. Here we go, above average precip. Very heavy rains once again, and this is concerning because we have more troughs coming in across the west. The polar jet starts to merge more with the subtropical jet, and we start to see a big jet stream in the middle of the country sometime during that first, maybe even second week of May, and this could lead to more severe weather potential and significant severe weather going from May 1st through the 8th, and I think in the orange area from the upper Midwest, maybe as far north as the Twin Cities, all the way down through portions of the southern plains down toward Tulsa there and in toward Fort Smith, Arkansas, would be in line for that likely severe weather from May 1st through the 8th time frame. We'll keep you updated on that. Folks, a lot of information to go with. I understand there's a lot of information. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't be scared. Just be prepared for the severe weather. We definitely will keep you covered here on this channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. the like button down below. We will, again, keep you covered throughout the entire year for severe weather, winter weather, tropical weather, everything that you need to know. So again, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this video down below to get it to more and more people. I do appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe rest of their Wednesday out there.